Greetings, YouTube. I have now been a Marvel Contest of Champions content creator for about a year and a half, which is very exciting for me to say. I have seen so much and I've learned so much, and hopefully I've improved and will continue to improve in the next year and a half to be the best content creator that the community deserves. And my goal was to be the voice of the people, as hokey as that sounds, when I started my channel with like 54 subscribers a year and a half ago. And really, my number one goal was to be someone that you could count on to get a response when you reached out to this person, that I wasn't some like impossible celebrity type person to get a hold of. You message me a question or a thought, and it may take me a couple days to get back to you, but I will get back to you. And I spend the majority of the time with this community behind the scenes answering questions. I get literally, without hyperbole or exaggeration, thousands of messages a week off the Line app. Many of you watching this have messaged me before and hopefully are nodding your head when I talk about my responses to your questions. So normally in these messages, I get what I call standard fare responses. Now, I've been very moved because since I announced that my appeal was never formally heard or acknowledged for my strike, I've received a lot of messages from people just saying, "Hey, Prof, I've never messaged you before. I know you have no idea who I am. I live in such and such country. I'm such and such age. And I just want you to know I appreciate your content and I hope you continue to make videos." Those kind of messages are really, really impactful. And thank you so much to everyone who sends them. And then there are kind of like those messages that start out, "Prof, I really enjoy your content," but you can tell it's a super long message. You're like, "Okay, thank you, but what do you want?" And by the end, it's, "Here's 5 screenshots of my 4-star roster. I've got all 440s. Who should I take up for my first Cosmic 550 as a 4-star? Okay, I can answer that question. I understand this is the main reason why you contacted me, but thank you for also saying something nice before you asked your question." But you see, it's kind of changed this week because I posted that video where I talked about the alliance that someone, allegedly hacked into the leader's account and kicked everybody out, and then didn't stop there, but actually deleted the alliance off the face of the earth, and it was Platinum 2, and they had won every alliance war of the season, lost every single everything in their treasury, had over 500,000 summer advancement score, everything gone Thanos style in the quick of a snap, basically. Just a terrifying situation. So when I posted that video, I was trying to help the alliance out and be their voice, because that is, as I said, what I promised to be when I started my channel. But then I started noticing a alarming and disturbing trend that I started receiving messages from all over the globe, from all tiers of alliances, with people telling me stories that probably belonged on like Dr. Phil or Maury or Jerry Springer, like the most drama possible. And they wanted me to talk about it. And I kind of said, I don't think that's really my place. I don't want to become the drama channel where I'm just talking about the latest crazy alliance war drama or the latest crazy alliance drama. This was a one-time video. So I would discuss it behind the scenes, but I would never make those stories public. But what I noticed in all these trends is more people than ever before are messaging me, either complaining that their alliance is falling apart or just complaining in general that the reason why their alliance is falling apart is because every single person they know who is super excited to play this game 2 or 3 years ago is burnt out. They've hit a wall and they feel like they cannot compete anymore. Their passion's not in it and they are done. And so if that is you watching this today, you are not alone. And these are not just people, by the way, that are in the master or platinum brackets or even the gold brackets. I've heard from people who are in like silver 2 who are burnt out. So I think this was inevitable. And I do think it's short-sighted, though not entirely off base, to say that Alliance War Seasons is the main reason behind it. I think that's a piece of the pie and a rather large piece, but ignoring all other factors pretty much understates the inevitable conclusion of Burnout in Marvel Contest of Champions in December of 2018. So I have some notes in front of me of things that I want to make points on in this video to just kind of address the situation as kind of the mediator of why we got to this point and where we should go from here. So if you did not download the game just a couple of years ago, way back in March of, was it 2016 or 2017? Man, patch 12.0 is what we're talking about. And those of you who hear me talk about this all the time, you don't know how crazy Champions were back then, because you see, basically you ran the game if you had Black Widow, especially against Thorns, right? If you had Scarlet Witch, and if you had, where's the man himself? Where is he? We're just going to filter this even more, right? If you had OG Thor, they were by far the best champions in the game. YouTube had so many videos talking about this, and it was no secret to Kabam. But they didn't do anything about it for a really long time because they knew that they were milking everybody for resources toward awakening and maximizing those champs. Back when 4-star signature stones were impossible to get and awakening gems were impossible to get, and those champions out of a 4-star crystal were impossible to get. And Doctor Strange is also up there as an honorable mention. Pre-patch 12.0 Doctor Strange was truly so much fun to play. So I say this to say that the game came out and gave their first round of rank down tickets, and they did this for justification that the game was too imbalanced, that champions were too imbalanced, and they wanted to sort of do what Thanos did, snap their fingers and balance the universe. And that was their argument. It was a huge controversy because people had spent literally thousands of dollars to get these champs and rank them up, and it was like turning your Lexus into a Hot Wheels car in the span of 24 hours. And their whole point is, from now on, we are going to balance the game. Of course, that turned out to be completely false and a huge lie. Because then, not much too long after that, they introduced the now 5-star champs with way more attack and way more health of champs like Stark Spidey, Medusa, Blade, that were so good and so OP that they, in some ways, destroyed even the perceptions of what most of the effectiveness of Scarlet Witch or Black Widow or Doctor Strange or Thor were before patch 12.0. And so suddenly, it just changed, where instead of everybody trying to go for Scarlet Witch, everybody was trying to go for Blade. And instead of everybody trying to go for Thor, they were going for Stark Spidey, etc. And so the problem, quote unquote, just shifted from those 4 stars to the 5 stars, which were also harder to get because, of course, 5-star shards were harder to collect than 4-star shards. When Kabam realized that everybody had or was trying to get that 5-star Blade, which they publicly acknowledged, by the way, they had 2 choices. They could do another patch 12.0, destroy the community, and anger everyone, or they could introduce something else. And what they have done is kind of threefold. They've introduced new mechanics like True Strike, which are apparently going to be really important on new crazy difficult content like the Maze, where if you don't have certain champions, you are at a huge disadvantage, especially with things like Auto Block. And then, on top of that, they introduced 6-star champions. And not just that, but 6-star champions like Domino and Corvus Glaive that were way, way, way more OP than so many of the 4 stars they were complaining about a year and a half before. So, their promise of balancing the game was BS. And now they just had a huge 5-star and 6-star problem. But it didn't stop there. Now we can talk about implementing those champions into Alliance War seasons, where 2018 has brought us incredibly powerful champions like Corvus, right, like Domino, but also crazy hard defenders like Korg and Domino, right? And so all of the latest champions are the best defenders. And unless you're talking about someone like OG Awakened Spidey, most of the old champions are just worthless, irrelevant, not anything to do with anything exciting except giving you a fuel for depression when you pull them. And because there are well over 100 champions now in the 5-star basic crystal, it is almost a miracle, almost impossible to naturally duplicate the champion that you're targeting. I heard from someone recently from Germany who their best 2 5-stars were Unawakened Medusa and Star-Lord. They knew if they had a Awakening Gem, they could start clearing a lot more content. But until that happened, they were stuck. And they couldn't afford, this is a college student in Germany, by the way, they couldn't afford the $500 rank up package of Cyber Monday that gave that 5-star generic Awakening Gem. And so that is a huge other problem I want to address in this video, is that because Kabam started to get desperate because everyone's rosters became too good, not only were Alliance War seasons harder and harder with these new amazing defenders that the best spenders had because they were pulling from the Grandmaster featured crystals with incredibly low drop rates or just wailing out their hours in the arena grinding for these champions, but more than that, they were awarding credit card users, right? If you have enough space on your credit card, you can buy, in some cases, better rewards on Cyber Monday than Labyrinth of Legends gave you by completing the content with skill, or at least a lot of units, in a ton of paths. You could just bypass all of that. And keep in mind, Labyrinth of Legends doesn't even have Tier 5 Basic rewards because it came out before Tier 5 Basics even existed. So you're rewarding people who have the biggest credit cards with better rewards than the people with skill. And on top of that, you're making it to where 5 and 6 star players have so much health now. The champions have so much health, so much attack that they're way, way more of a problem, especially in timed matches, than we ever saw with the 4-star problem in patch 12.0. The game is not balanced at all. In fact, you could make an argument, a very good one, that it's way more imbalanced now than it was during the patch 12.0 announcement. And what has Kabam chosen to do? They've chosen to roll out content like variant difficulty and even the new dungeon system, which all seem like cash grabs designed to make you spend in order to get rewards. But if you don't get those rewards, you feel like you're falling behind. And so alliances are like relationships. You just keep adding more pressure and more pressure and more pressure until you pop. And that's why marriages have a hard time the more kids you have, right? The more financial stress and health, the more factors that just cause your emotional health to go down. That's what Marvel Contest of Champions has endured. The harder the content has become and the more that spenders can have a say in their progression, the more the average player just feels like they can't compete in this rat race, which, by the way, this rat race, there is no winner. The goalpost gets moved every time you think you're close to the finish line, and if you even make it to the end of the rainbow, it's just going to be invisible dust, right? And if you think that featured crystals are the answer to this, just look at Crystal Opening Whales, 6-star featured crystal, to remind you about those drop rates and still how hard it is to target a champion with a 4.2% drop rate. And on top of that, people are just exhausted from real life. And as this game has become more pressured and more intense, and kills mean more in Alliance War, and on top of that, it's so hard to pull good champions, it just sucks. It's draining. So Kabam had some resources. First off, I don't think Dungeons was broken. If it's not broken, don't fix it. I think they should have left Dungeons the way it is, and I hope the community gives that feedback when they changed at the end of this new Dungeons round for this 3-day special event that has your best champions locked in dungeons, literally, without refreshing for 90-plus hours. But besides that, when you have events like Gwenpool at the movies, where everybody can get rewards and relax and have not so much stress, it's really great. And now the people who are complaining about Gwenpool at the movies, who said it wasn't hard enough because they could do auto fight, well, you have things like variant difficulty, which are just geared toward you. So if you're so good at the game that you're complaining because it's too easy, well, there's going to be plenty. Act 6 is around the corner. Good luck with that. But in the meantime, the average player that has built the foundation of this game, the average player that doesn't have a million roster, that doesn't have 565 5 stars galore, the average player feels left behind and like they're being run over in this mad dash for cash. And one of the best content creators and one of the most important voices in the community is Mr. Brian Grant. And I always appreciate in his videos when he reminds people, look, you can still enjoy this game and not spend money. And that is kind of how I want to conclude this video. If you're burnt out, if you feel like you haven't got a good pull in months, and maybe you haven't, the key is not to spend more. The key is actually to take your foot off the gas and take a break. A lot of people said starting January 1st that their New Year's resolution is to take a step back from the game. Now, maybe that doesn't mean retirement for you, but that does mean maybe going from a Platinum 2 Alliance to a Gold 1 Alliance, or from a Gold 1 Alliance to a Silver 2 Alliance. Something relaxing. Enjoy the game again. And if you feel like you just can't, leave an alliance. Maybe don't log in for a couple weeks and just take a break. But give yourself the grace and ability to not have your real life affected by this mobile gaming tension-filled stress fiesta that is the current state of Marvel Contest of Champions. Because I've seen so many alarming patterns from people from all over the globe in all phases of alliances that continue to come to me, being burnt out, that I felt it's the state of the game, right? This is the now maybe annual state of the game video. It is not a good idea to push yourself to the point of exhaustion to where your family, your friends, everything in real life is being negatively affected by this Marvel casino, essentially. Take a step back. Know that the state of the game is in crisis. I think the balance has never been worse. And Kabam has two options. They can give the players more incentives, like this awesome new holiday calendar, or they can not give the players incentives. They can continue to make the content harder only for the people who have the best rosters and the most money, and continue to see a natural burnout of more and more people, especially when you factor in the new Alliance Quest map difficulty. And of course, Alliance War seasons become even harder the more people get their hands on champions like Domino and Korg, etc. So thank you for watching. Please let me know if you agree, disagree with my views in this State of the Game video. And as always, thank you for watching and supporting my Marvel Contest of Champions YouTube channel.